This one comes with a caution, the others don't. As I record this, the RBC settlement is proposed, agreed between the lawyers, but not yet approved by a court. So everything here is proposed, not final. The proposed amount is $45 million to resolve claims over RBC and PH&N mutual funds held through discount brokers. A judge is scheduled to review it on September 8th, 2026. Until then, nothing is settled, and RBC denies the allegations. A proposed settlement is not an admission of wrongdoing. Companies settle to avoid the cost and risk of a trial while still saying they did nothing wrong. Both those things are true at once. So this isn't go get your money. It's here's the fee the case is about, and here's where the official notice is if you want the real details. I'm Mike. Let me show you the fee and how to make sure it never touches your money again. The test is the same as the others. If you held an RBC or PH&N mutual fund through a discount brokerage, you bought it yourself, no advisor. A trailing commission was very likely baked into that fund's fee, leaving the fund's assets year after year. The proposed class covers holdings through a discount broker over a roughly 20-year window. You never saw the fee as a withdrawal. It lived inside the MER, skimmed before you ever saw a return, because this one's still just proposed. There's nothing to claim yet. If it's approved, the official notice will spell out who's covered and how. And that notice, not me, is the thing to read. The fee has a boring name, a trailing commission. Trailer fee if you want the short version. And boring names are exactly how expensive things stay hidden. When you buy a mutual fund, a slice of that fund's money is paid out every year to whoever sold it to you. The stated reason is ongoing advice. Someone keeping an eye on your money, rebalancing, talking you off the ledge when markets drop. That's a fair trade if you're getting advice. Pay for advice, get advice. Nobody sensible is mad about that. But plenty of people didn't buy through an advisor. They bought their funds themselves online through a discount brokerage, RBC Direct Investing, or one like it. A discount broker is do-it-yourself by design. By the regulator's own rules, it is not allowed to give you personal advice. That's the whole deal. It's cheaper precisely because you're on your own. And yet the advice fee, the trailing commission, was still paid out of the fund year after year. That in plain terms is what every one of these cases is about, an advice fee on funds people picked themselves where no advice was given or allowed. And this wasn't a rounding error. Across the industry, this ran for the better part of 2 decades on a lot of accounts, quietly the whole time. Small percentage, enormous base. That's how a fee nobody feels adds up to court cases with millions attached. Here's the tell that it was a real problem, not just lawyers being lawyers. The regulators themselves eventually agreed. They didn't find one bad apple. They changed the rule for everyone. We'll get to exactly what they did in a minute. Here's the good news and the catch. The good news, in 2022, Canada's regulators banned trailing commissions from being paid to discount brokers. Full stop. That specific loophole is closed. The catch? Bank mutual funds still carry high fees. Take the trailer out, and a lot of them still charge you well over 2% a year all in. The loophole closing didn't make the funds cheap. It just removed one ingredient. 2% sounds small. Over an investing lifetime, it can quietly eat a huge share of what your money would have earned. Not opinion, just compounding, running in the fund company's favor instead of yours. For a sense of scale, on a portfolio you hold for decades, the difference between a 2% fund and a cheap index fund can add up to a genuinely life-changing number by the end. Same markets, same you, just fees. So the move, and it's simpler than the industry makes it feel. 1. Find what you actually hold. Every Canadian fund has a 2-page document called Fund Facts, and the fee is printed right on it. 2. If the fee is high and no real advice is coming with it, ask the obvious question. Why pay an advice price for a product you manage yourself? 3. For most people, the answer is a low-cost index fund or ETF. Same markets, a fraction of the fee. You don't need to be clever, you need to be cheap. Boring and cheap beats exciting and expensive over a lifetime. Honesty note, before I name a single brand, I use Wealth Simple, and if you sign up through my link, I get a referral bonus. I'm telling you up front so you can weigh it, and then I'm going to tell you where it falls short, because that's what makes a recommendation worth anything. The reason I point beginners here is simple. It makes the cheap, boring thing easy. Open a self-directed account, TFSA, RRSP, whatever fits, and buy low-fee index ETFs without a branch talking you into a 2% fund on the way out. The fees are a fraction of a bank mutual funds. For someone whose whole problem was an invisible trailing commission, that's the direct fix. Now, the honest downsides, because they're real, it's a newer company than a 200-year-old bank. That spooks some people, and that's fair. There's no branch to walk into. If what you want is a human across a desk who knows your name, a discount platform, mine included, isn't that real trade, not a footnote? And self-directed means what it says. Nobody stops you from a dumb move. The expensive fund at least came with a person. Do it yourself means the discipline is yours. So it's not bank bad, app good. It's this. If you were paying for advice you never got, stop. And a low-fee, self-directed account is the cleanest way to stop. If you genuinely use advice, pay for it with your eyes open. The crime was never the fee. It was the fee for nothing. Here's what to actually do after this. Pull up one fund you own, find its fund facts, 2 pages online in 30 seconds, and read the MER. Then ask, am I getting advice worth that number? If you want the full breakdown, how the MER is built, how bank branches sell these funds, and every one of these cases laid out, settled versus proposed versus still just alleged. That's the main video this one comes from. It's on screen now. On the settlement itself, it's proposed, not approved, and I'm not your lawyer. If and when a court signs off, the official notice decides who's covered. Read that, not a headline, and not me. One more honest line before I let you go. If you have a real advisor who earns their fee, plans your taxes, keeps you invested when you'd otherwise panic sell, keep paying them gladly. This was never anti-advice. It was anti-paying for advice you never got. And the standard reminder, this is education, not financial advice, and I'm not your lawyer. Your money, your call. I'm just the guy who paid these fees for years before he understood them. One last thing before you go, because this is so much bigger than RBC. RBC isn't alone in this. It's one of a whole wave of these cases across Canada's financial industry, other big banks, major fund managers, every one of them over this same trailing commission fee on funds people bought themselves. And the details matter because they're easy to get wrong. Some of those cases have fully settled and been approved by courts. RBC's is at the proposed stage, agreed between the lawyers waiting on a judge. And several others are still just allegations the companies deny and are actively fighting. For RBC, the date to watch is September 8th, 2026. That's when a court reviews the proposed $45 million settlement. Until a judge signs off, nothing is final. There's nothing to claim, and anyone telling you otherwise is ahead of the facts. If you want the full map, every bank which settled, which is proposed, which is still being fought, and what it actually means for you, I lay them all out in the main video this one branches from. It's on screen now, but whatever happens on September 8th, do the 2-minute fun facts check on your own funds first. That's the part that actually puts money back in your pocket, no court required. I'm Mike. See you in the next one.